Good afternoon, Kabiyesi.
Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure to be back in Ayetoro community. We've been here a number of times,
Yes.
and even during the last protest, we saw for ourselves a people determined to engage the systems on their rights to survive, not just to survive, but to flourish in their own land.
Yes.
We know for a fact that government or state actors can do better than what they are currently doing, if at all they are doing anything. It's about the interest of the people here. So this is a novel idea from the Make Big Polluter Pay. We identified that in African continent, there are so many frontline communities that are disconnected from government policies, and these communities are being ravaged seriously by the impact of climate change, like the case of Ayetoro, the rising sea level, and of course, sea incursion. So this is a storytelling platform, and the idea behind this is to garner as many, impact stories as possible, and use this as a basis to engage state actors. It's unfortunate that in our climate, we have to prevail on government. We have to force engagement on government. And the only evidence we can provide in engaging government are the evidences that comes from the people who are adversely impacted. And that's why we are here. Let me say before I start that this is going to be a regional program, and it's a privilege that we are starting this in Ayetoro. Ayetoro is dear to us. It's a community that is very close to our heart as an organization.
Thank you so much.
And each time, you're welcome, sir. And each time we are here, we are always, bothered and are of course interested to see that there's a change in the narrative here. We don't intend to spend all the time, and we know that you are in the best position to give us adequate, responses to this question.
We have all the time.
Yes, sir.
This is our soul.
Thank you so much.
Come to save.
Yes, sir. So I'll be reading out these questions to you, and then please, maybe because we intend to interview two more persons, a woman and a youth. Like I said, it's to garner evidences that we can use to engage, state actors to act in the interest of the people who are being denied expression. But we don't want that to be our case anymore. So the first question here, Kabiyesi, is on historical perspective.
Okay.
So can you take us through the history of Ayetoro community, its emergence, cultural heritage, and its value system?
Thank you. Ayetoro community came to be as a result of a Christian movement. As far back as 1942, within a few years, when they got here, they had nothing. So they had to pull all their resources together, everything they had. They pulled them together. If you had 3 clothes, you have to submit 2. If you have 2 shoes, you have to submit 1. For those who did not have. They practiced absolute communism, and Ayetoro was declared a community. This communism is not political, but it was Christian in nature. When they gathered all their belongings together and they evaluated the worth of all that they had, it amounted to just 600 pounds in January 12, 1947. It was this little from nothing that they began the journey of building a city for God. That's the brief history of Ayetoro.
Thank you very much, Kabiyesi. And nobody could have shared that better than than you. And of course, I heard that say. So, at what point did this beautiful story about, the emergence of Ayetoro now begin to change? At what point did, climate begin to affect the well-being and the coherence of the people, and then your survival seems to be threatened? At what point?
We observe 2 things in the late 90s. Number 1, we observe that the level of flooding during the rainy season, especially during the August and September, was increasing yearly. The kind of flood we never experienced before. We started experiencing it in the late 90s. Then from the ocean, we observe that though it is normal for every 6 hours we have low tide, another 6 hours we have high tide. During high tide, we know the demarcation, the level at which the sea will get to before another 6 hours of low tide will begin. So by early 90s, we realized that water was stepping beyond that boundary. That was the first thing we observed. Then a few years after that, we observed that it was not just water that was rising above the normal level. That the water that was coming and rising above the normal level had started to take away some portions of the beach. Though before then it's an annual thing for the sea to bring in mud of a few meters. It could be 50 meters, 100 meters. The sea will bring it, and it used to be a lot of headache for the fishermen to get their fish and their boats to the shore. Then after a few months, it will take those soil back. Our shore will remain intact. So at this same period of the 90s, we also observed that the rate at which it was taking the soil was becoming more than the rate at which it was adding to the soil. So by 98, we had noticed that we had lost more than 50 meters of our land, but it was still very, very far from where our houses are, where our industries are, where fishermen used to park their boats by the sea. We did not ignore this warning because we were concerned. The community pulled resources together and called in experts to do soil tests and analysis to understand what was happening. They did a beautiful report, which we have till now. And in that report was released 2000, and they told us that the sea was coming. That this is climate change and the effect of oil exploration. So it was at that time, 2000, that we realized that we needed to do something. And it is from that time we started to galvanize effort and appeal to government and its agencies to come and do something to stop this thing that was coming.
One, economics wise, we could no longer trade because main occupation in this city is fishing, and we women, we could no longer have our kitchen where we dry fish. Our pupils could no longer go to school because the school have been relocated about 4 or 5 times. Yet, where they are now, the sea is already threatening them. Don't allow the glory of this country, I mean our children, to be jeopardized.
The sea incursion has made many people homeless, and our school now is at stake. The teachers and the students are now losing hope because the 4th building is now at stake. So we are pleading our government to save our future, to save our soul and save our Ayetoro community.
Learning environment that we are in now, which is the 4th place that we are, has already been near to the sea. That whenever the waves comes up, it affects us to the extent that many students run to their houses to save their life. And I'm begging the federal government, the local government, and the state government to work together to save this community and give us a conducive learning environment.
Passionate appeal to the government to please come to our aid. When we are growing up, most of our sporting activities were kind of at the shore, but presently now nothing we can do in addition. We are not asking for what is too much. What we are asking for is what the government can do for us. We are electorate. We vote here every now and then, and we see ballot papers that they come here, and that's why we are calling on them to please come to our head and save Ayetoro.
My house are already broken. My house is my drinking vessel. I can't gather my children up to now. We are not together. Even to my wife, we are not together. Because I'm an old man. I'm 77 years old now. I can't go and work to gather money and build up another house. Being that I can use to gather all my children in the same place. Anytime they came, we always be voting for them. Always. We pay our tax. We also vote for them. But when they come, we vote for them. They go. We cannot see them anymore again. I don't know what happened. Maybe just they use us as a ATM that we will be vomiting voters card, voter strength to them. That is what they are using us for. This Ondo State here. Ondo State, they are using us as a ATM.
So at some point, or let me ask, did you suspect the activity of any multinational? I heard where you said that oil explorations.
Yes.
Are the activities contributory to, the rising sea level?
Yes, definitely. This period that we observe these changes in our environment, especially as regards to sea incursion, coincided with the period major oil companies started exploration in our shore here. Till now, they are still there. 4 of them. We have Ajib, we have Cavendish, we have corn oil, and we have ExxonMobil. Those are the 4 major oil companies. I think Chevron is also captured too. So the period they came to this area and started serious exploration coincided with the period where we started to experience serious incremental degradation in our shoreline. For example, this building was commissioned in 1960. When they were looking for oil, they shot a dynamite that shook the foundation of the whole of this land. The whole of this land vibrated. The whole of Ayetoro vibrated, and people were running helter-skelter. People panicked. I wouldn't know what they shot. They said they were looking for oil. It was that day that this building sank. So they had to evacuate the king and all the occupants to another place. Our people met with them, spoke with them. They admitted that what they did was part of what was responsible, and they said if it's the effect of what they did on the building became more severe, that they will compensate. They never did. So oil exploration is part of what is responsible for the sea incursion in the Ayetoro community. From my local knowledge, if I can chip it in, climate change is responsible for the sea level to be high, the water level to be high. When the water level is high, it allows the water to roll into the community to destroy. Oil exploration reduces the strength of our soil. So it now allows the rolling water that is coming into the community to be able to take away the soil.
Absolutely.
So that's the nexus of the 2 factors on our community.
I was going to ask if there's any form of dialogue or engagement between the community and the oil exploration company. Is there any MOU signed on behalf of the community with those companies? And what are the contents? Or are you not aware if there's any document that supposed to speak to commensurate compensation on behalf of the people?
I will be very frank as regards that. Dealing with oil companies is like dealing with the devil. They are smart, they are rich, and a lot of time they have the government backing to undermine the communities. They do not care about the lives and the properties of the host communities. All they care about is the oil.
Yes.
Government itself sold the people of Niger Delta to the oil company. And they did this by declaring that if an oil company is in the sea near my village, that is not taking the oil from my village, is taking it from the sea, and the sea belongs to the federal government. So that singular decree or whatever it is has given the oil company so much impetus to just do whatever they like. It is until recently now that they realize that what they have done has destroyed so many communities, and it's now giving them so much load and responsibility to come and rebuild that they are trying to review some of these regulations. And when they are now setting up the bill, the IEB, and make sure that the oil companies liaise directly with the local communities. Before, there was nothing like that. And even when things happen, apart from what they will tell you is natural disaster, when you go to a company, they tell you it's global warming. They want to explain everything away and run away from the responsibility. They tell you it's global warming. Then we know global warming alone is not responsible for what is happening. Now, they have the resources, they have the connection to frustrate whoever is agitating for accountability. And they also have the means to also divide the community. Get people who love money more than their life or the well-being of their people. Those ones will be used to frustrate the effort of the collective effort of the communities. And then when oil spillage happens, which happens a lot here, that's another topic for another day, and it has destroyed so many. Nobody can farm anymore. It has destroyed all the farmlands, all the livestock that we have here. Oil spillage is every year. It's like a normal thing. Even our children of 4 years, they know crude oil. They want to be packing it. They don't need to go to the seashore. They will pack it around our houses. And when you go to them with the evidence, they will even deny that it's not their oil. You get it. You have to pay for heavily to a consultant to identify. There are tests that will identify the crude oil, which company is producing this specific crude oil. Even when you do that, they will say, go to court. So there are cases that have been in court for 40 years now. Our fathers that instituted those cases got broke, old, and died. And those cases are still there. They have a team of senior advocates and so many people that they use to frustrate. So a lot of time, from my experience as a community leader, I would prefer that we hold the government so that the government can help us hold the oil companies accountable.
Yeah, I think it cannot be more correct. Yeah, if at the likes of Shell are even divested and they are passing on their liabilities to local entities that cannot, address those liabilities.
It is because the federal government woke up from their slumber or from their compromise.
Too late.
And with the bill that they just brought now, the bill will make the oil companies more accountable, and the oil companies know what they have done. So they are running away from what they are supposed to do, which in the bill is now empowering the communities to ask from them. That's why they want to run away.
Absolutely.
They are going nowhere.
Yeah, they are going nowhere.
They must pay us what they owe us.
Commensurate compensation. Yeah, it's a war between economic gains and social well-being.
Yes.
And therefore we know the people will always win. So, Kabiyesi, how are you coping presently now as a community? What coping measures are you putting in place? While we wait for state actors to do the needful?
Physically, we have a team. It is like an emergency committee. If we have knowledge of when the sea will strike, we warn our people. We only know the months. We do not know the day or the week. We know that February of every year, April of every year, August, September, that the sea will come. But we don't know the day or the dates it will come. So when those periods are getting closer, we try to evacuate our children and our movable properties away from the disaster zones. That is number one. Number two, when it happens, it is a community of love. Our men rise up to the occasion to help our women and children, to evacuate them. We save lives first. And we are lucky that we can swim. Otherwise, the mortality due to sea incursion would have been so high, because it's always at night. The sea will never strike in the afternoon. It will wait, and it will come a little in the day, but at night it gets so heavy. So we have that team of people, we have that cooperation. We rescue the people, and if whatever that is left that they can salvage from what the sea has destroyed, because actually roll very high, over 6 feet, slam against building, bring the building down and drags everything into the sea. So we try to save the little we can save, and the leadership of the community try to provide makeshift shelter. Those who still have the means to rebuild, we make it an emergency procedure to allocate land for them at no cost, so that they can, whatever they could salvage from their building, so that they can have a building. Then we have a team of nurses who volunteered to test the affected people, and we observed that high blood pressure, arthritis, and ulcer, they are the four main things that we are experiencing here. And doctors that we have brought in too attested to these, and they said they are not unrelated to this devastation and the pain and the suffering it has caused. Then spiritually, as a spiritual leader of the community, when we get to church, I try to use word of God to give them hope that we should hang on to faith, we continue to pray, while we the leaders continue to interact and interface with the government for solution, that they should continue to pray. So we do that spiritually, and it's really helping. A lot of people are still very hopeful, because actually it's not just a land, it's a land that we are committed to spiritually. It's a land that our soul is tied to. It's not just an ordinary land just for sleeping and waking up. Then in the area of trying to see what we can do to stop the wave, we have tried locally too. Our fathers, I think in around 2004, 2004, 2005. The first attempt was to build like a gate made of wood, so that to in an attempt to stop the wave from destroying houses. Most of these efforts had not worked. The strength of the wave always overwhelmed what the local carpenters could do. Within a week or so, it will pull it down. So many people have done it around their houses. The community did collective ones. It did not work. It did not work.
Thank you very much. I saw a temporary embankment. Is that supposed to be a model you intend to market to the government as a solution?
It's a recent one. It's a recent one. Out of deep thought and research, I came up with that idea. I drew the diagram on paper for the engineers and the carpenters. I told them, this is what I saw. This is what I want to propose as a temporary measure. Because right now, where it is now, we cannot afford to lose more land or more houses. There's no land anymore. It's just a few houses left. And the bureaucracy in what government is doing is so confusing, is so lengthy, is so ambiguous that we are now trying to propose two solutions: a temporary solution and a permanent solution. Globally, there are two ways they do sea embankment. They use stones on top of them, each other, heavy stones that are stronger than the wave, than what the wave can push. Then they also use aluminium sheets. They ram it to the ground, very tall aluminium sheets. They use aluminium because it will not rust easily. They use aluminium sheets, they ram it to the ground, very deep. And it's a thick and strong one. So we don't have the technology, and we don't even, it's not even in Nigeria to get an aluminium sheet. So, and we do not have the mountains that we can go and crack to get those big stones. So we now decided that we use cement, combination of sand, cement, stone, and sand dust. So I discussed with engineers, and they said that combination is a very strong one. It's a very strong one, and if it's underwater, it even gets stronger. So we have done our calculation that if the length of Ayetoro is 3 kilometers maximum, how many of 4 feet do we find in 3 kilometers? We know that we will find about 2,400 and something. So roughly speaking, we will need 2,400 and maybe 50 of this mold that we can produce, and just would produce them by the beach and just roll. We don't want to, we are not concerned about the deep sea now. We just want the wave to stop where it has reached now, not to take further soil, not to destroy further buildings. So we are trying to write our reports now and send it to the government. And this model, we did a rough estimate of what they cost. It's about maybe 100,000 to build one, excluding labor, because the labor is free. We are all ready to do it. We're talking about that will be 5,000 pieces. 5,000 pieces of it. So 5,000 pieces times 100,000 will be about 500 million. The thing we want to push to so many, not just the government, anyone that can help us to save it, the land, pending the time the big project, the big plan that they say they have will come to fruition.
That's brilliant, and I think it's very interesting to hear that the community is leveraging its local knowledge, you know, and hoping that government will now come with a bigger picture. You said earlier that government is aware. So I'm curious to know which government. Is it the federal, the state, or the local government? Are you satisfied with the level of synergy that exists between these three governments?
Government at all levels and strata in Nigeria are aware of the plight of Ayetoro people. They are not just aware, they have all been here in their groups, in their committees, in their ministries, in their agencies. They have all been here. Governors have been here, though majorly most of the time during the election. Deputy governors have been here, specifically to come and inspect the devastation. NDC as an agency, they have been here. NDC had even awarded contracts 2 times. Nothing came out of those contracts. They were all on papers. The federal government is aware. Ministry of Environment have been here. In the past 1 year alone, Ministry of Environment have been here more than 4 times. Ministry of Niger Delta, they have been here. This year, they were here. Ecology, what's it called? Ecological Fund Committee also. They have been here. They were here last year. Senate Committee on Environment, Disaster Management, different Senate committees. They have all been here. They have seen what is happening. All we get is that government will look into it. That solution is coming. That the solution is in the pipeline. And it is this pipeline, I don't know whether it is the same pipeline that they are using to take our crude oil, that our solution is inside, or it's just a grammatical expression. So there is no government at any level and its agencies that have not heard of Ayetoro and what is happening. And we have written letters to all of these levels of government, agencies, parastatals, and ministries.
So, Kabiyesi, what would be your major demand as we end this conversation?
Thank you so much. The demand of Ayetoro people is that, number one, we are human. We deserve life, and we deserve to live life in an environment where our lives and our properties are secured. We are citizens of Federal Republic of Nigeria. We deserve to be protected, to be taken care of by the government. We are indigenes of Ondo states. Our resources feeds the states and the federal government. So we demand that Ayetoro community, with the beauty, the uniqueness of the culture, the breakthroughs that we recorded, the story that is better imagined, that is real, that these local fishermen were able to carve out for Nigeria, the good name it has made, the tourism it had attracted to Nigeria, the beautiful story of what ordinary people have done must not be allowed to just wash away like that. We need to preserve this legacy. We need this legacy to be an inspiration to so many other people, irrespective of their belief or their religion, that people can come together and build something glorious, beautiful, that will last. So for this reason, we want government at all levels, state, federal, and even international community, to come to our aid. Sea embankment is not rocket science. It's not a new technology that we want to go into laboratory to begin to do research about. It is doable and it is affordable if there is political will. We beg them, we appeal to them to come to our aid. We are at a very critical moment now. We are at a very critical moment now. The will power of the people has been so strong, and I applaud them for that. But beyond this, I don't know if the people can hold it anymore. I have used all of my wisdom, all of the grace as a preacher and as a leader that I have to appeal to the people to be calm and to continue to endure this hardship. But it is getting to a point that I don't know what to say again. I have tried to believe what I have been told by government and its agencies about when and how they will come and do the job, and I have been lied to so many times, and I have transferred these lies to my congregation. I've almost become a liar to them now. So we are at a very critical moment now. A few days ago, another devastation happened, and people are rendered homeless. Our fathers, our mothers who built this place, they are refugees in their own homes now. So we need an urgent intervention to save this land. To save this land. Save Ayetoro now.